Hi everyone, welcome to Carmel Unfiltered. I'm Samantha Fulling. Take a seat, grab some coffee, and come be unfiltered with me on Carmel Unfiltered, my platform and my perspective. So for a little opening, some of you know me, some of you may recognize me from board meetings, some of you may be hearing my name for the first time. Either way, thank you for being here. I am a lifelong Carmel Central School District resident. I went to 4 out of the 5 main schools, including the Carmel Alternative High School on the high school campus. I think this district helped shape who I am today. It wasn't always a positive experience, but it did bring me to adulthood, and I survived. My childhood was typical. It was normal, normal for millennial kids coming from a home with divorced parents. And I did generally well in school up until high school. I struggled a lot through my teen years and was a very angry young girl. And it took a lot of time for me to grasp who I am as an adult and just as a person in general. Now I am very sure of myself, and I try to encourage others to do their best with whatever life throws at them. It's not always easy. It's not always pretty. It just is what it is. Today, I'm a mom of 3. I have one kid who is out of school, and my younger 2 are currently enrolled in Carmel Central School District. So this district really represents my past, my present, and my future in my kids. I started going to board meetings only a couple of years ago in summer of 2023. And it wasn't because I wanted to be an advocate. It wasn't because I was politically motivated. And I wasn't necessarily looking for a fight, or at least not to start a fight. I truly was looking to finish something. I started because of one incident, one moment, one bad decision made by a staff member. For a little background, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details. My then 13-year-old, who had just come back to district after never being in school in district, he was always placed in outside programs, came back to district in July of 2023 for the district's on-campus extended school year program, or summer school. He had attempted to self-advocate against a teacher who he had already kind of been struggling with. They didn't know each other. They weren't comfortable with each other. And there was some headbutting within the first week. Once my son tried to advocate for himself, it turned into a power struggle. The teacher accused my son of being difficult and questioned him about his IEP. There's a lot more in depth to it. Long story short, for those who don't know it, my son became very uncomfortable, sent me a text message saying that he was uncomfortable, and while he waited for his rescue mission, he took his phone out and recorded the teacher. He did not record his face. He just recorded the interaction on the camera on his phone. And with that, there is almost a 20-minute recording that is public on my personal Facebook page. I won't direct you to it, but if you want to find it and you want to message me, I'd be happy to send it to anybody interested. The interaction ended once the ESY administrator walked into the room after my husband was able to connect with the school, and that admin pulled my son out. Once I got home later on that day, I saw the entirety of the video and immediately contacted the ESY admin, who then proceeded to write a DASA. I sat down with district administration, went through the video. They interviewed my son, interviewed the teacher, and I made it very clear that that interaction was woefully inappropriate. It was uncomfortable, and it really put my kid in a position that he should not have needed to be in, not at 13, not as a student, not any time. And I made district administration very aware that I was not a parent that takes things laying down, and if I didn't get the outcome that I expected and that was legally correct, then I would go public. So I sat very quietly. I didn't even tell my best friend what happened. I kept my mouth shut for about a month. And in August of 2023 was when I got the unfounded letter from district administration saying that they did not find adequate evidence to have the DASA verified, and that was it. I was not aware at that time that I was able to appeal this further up to board level, and was really in just uncharted territory. I knew a lot about special education, but not so much about DASA and the differences between out-of-district programs and then how public school districts handled incidences like these. So I did the only thing that I knew how to do, and what I knew how to do was vent. So I wrote a speech, and I went to the next school board meeting, which I believe was the following day or a few days after, and signed up for public comment. I was first on the list. I will never forget just that feeling of terror, walking up to the podium, saying my name, and then I started speaking. And the speech that I wrote, I do still have it, it started out very gracious, and I thanked the school board and administration and staff and teachers for really showing my kid what CCSD was all about, never having been in this district before. And it very quickly shifted to why I was really there. I think it took board members a minute for it to sink in as to what I was really saying. And the then board president, Don Dahl, did attempt to stop me. I did not take that nicely. And another board member, Jim Wise, actually said, no, she is allowed to talk about her student. So I finished my speech, and yes, there is a lot of anger, and there is a lot of hurt, and there is just this need and instinct to protect my child, and I didn't care whose feelings that it hurt. I was at that podium for probably less than 5 minutes, and I had no idea that those 5 minutes would change the course of my life up until this moment. What I found within the following days after saying what I said, and I did not mention this teacher's name at that board meeting, was far too many parents and people in this district knew that teacher's name just by the description that I gave in that speech. And that truly concerned me, because up until that moment, I thought this was an overworked, burnt out teacher who was probably just tired of these kids' shit. He wanted his summer vacation, and it was a one-off, and nothing like that would ever happen again. And I was wrong. This person had a history of treating staff and students very poorly, to say the least. I do know that within the past year, there was a lawsuit settled by the district because of this teacher. This teacher is since retired, thankfully. I've chosen not to mention his name, even though I've done it publicly before. That's just not what I want to use this platform for. I don't want to use it in a negative way. I want to kind of just move on from things and grow myself and allow things to just heal. However, the concern that this man had been allowed to stay in district for as long as he did still really doesn't sit very well with me. What I also found after that first speech that I gave were policies that were not being enforced. I found a lot of staff that truly didn't care about students and safety. And I found a system that was protecting itself rather than protecting its students. And it wasn't just about my kids anymore. At that point, it wasn't just about that one incident. It was about a systemic issue within our small community that clearly had never changed since I was a kid. And this district did not help me as a kid. I had people on my side. I had staff on my side. I had great teachers on my side. But the system as a whole really let me down. And I've seen it let many other people down. And some of these people are adults. Some of these people are still kids in school. What I've seen since, over the past 2, almost 3 years, I've met teachers who genuinely do care. And it's almost shocking to me when I come across a teacher or an admin or any other staff member that would bend over backwards for one of our kids because I've come to expect negative, and I hate that. I hate that every day I send my kid to school, both of my kids, I'm terrified that I'm going to get that phone call of a staff member just doing something shitty to one of my kids. I've also met staff who are truly terrified about pushing back and about standing up for what is right. I've met people who have told me to my face that they've seen some really terrible things happen to students by staff member, but they're so afraid of the backlash that they just won't step forward. And part of me thinks that's just a terrible fucking excuse. Excuse my language. I curse a lot, so I apologize in advance. I think that adults should be protecting kids, period. Like there's no I'll protect a kid, but however, I do recognize and I can empathize with people needing to make a living, especially our support staff in this district. They don't make very much money, and they may be living paycheck to paycheck, and that one paycheck could derail their entire foundation. So it's very sticky. I still stand by that. Staff should feel comfortable reporting bad adults doing bad things to children. However, I don't think that is a teacher issue. I don't think that's a monitor issue or a teacher assistant, or I think that's an administration issue. And what I mean by that is that kind of goes to show that our staff don't feel protected when they should be. They don't feel like that they can be a whistleblower and keep their job because there's been a history of admins that would just terrorize them or allow them to be terrorized. Again, I don't know this for a fact. It's just my perception and how I see things. Don't come for me. I've also met parents who are absolutely exhausted and feel powerless. I too am exhausted. There are some days that I feel powerless and that I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to help my kid. I don't know how to help fix anything. There's too many things to be fixed. Where do you start? And it gets crazy. I've also met board members stuck in politics and old ways of thinking. I have opinions on pretty much every single sitting board member from this current board to the last one. Most of them are positive. Some of them are not so positive. I think that we have board members that are sitting right now that are so pro-teacher that they can't see past their own noses sometimes. I've also met people who became very close friends. So one of the best decisions that I made after speaking out and advocating was I took a break from like early fall 2023, and then I didn't start going back to board meetings until the budget crisis that following March in 2024. And the budget crisis, for those who aren't aware, who weren't there, I've never seen a board meeting that packed before with people from all walks of life. I will never forget sitting in the front row and watching all 7 board members just look stone-faced, like they didn't know how to react with the amount of people in that room. I was uncomfortable for them. But many of us spoke that night. We spoke about just the sheer craziness that, we lost all this money. Where did this money go? How did we mismanage this much money and no one figured it out until like 2 weeks prior? It was an insane night. I don't even think I made it past public comment because even that portion of the night took so long that I had to go home. It was just way too much. But after that, 3 of the then current board members, Jason Paraskiva, John Curzio, and Melissa Orser, started setting up meet and greets at different Dunkins and Starbucks around the district to hear from the public, gain feedback from the public, really try to understand where everyone was coming from. And it wasn't just about the budget and money. And they were hearing concerns that they don't normally get to hear. So one of the things that I did learn, and I learned it from the three of them, is if a parent or a student makes a complaint against a staff member, chances are they're probably not going to find out. Now, if rumors are flying in school and kids talk and they have kids in school, then they may find out. But they would never necessarily find out in an official capacity, because usually the buck stops in the building. It doesn't go to the district office and it doesn't go to the board. Now, I know some safety nets have been put in place over the past couple of years to try to prevent things from being swept under the rug or stopped immediately in school buildings to protect kids better, but life isn't perfect. So I learned that, but I also got really close with the three of them. I got to know them on a more personal level. I got to learn things about John Curzio that I don't think I ever would have guessed. And I'm hoping to get John Curzio on here one day, but I'll let him tell you his life story. He's the funniest guy to talk to. He's so interesting. He's so knowledgeable about so many things. Jason, to me, was always the quiet board member. Like, you never heard him speak. And I'm going to call Jason out right now. He might get mad at me. I'm not sure. So I apologize, Jason. I think the funniest thing I ever saw was I was at a board meeting. The board was in executive session, and we never heard Jason really speak in meetings at the table. An executive session during a board meeting at the high school, for those who aren't aware, is in the little like fish tank in the Carmel High School library. So it's all windows. You can see everyone in there. You can't really hear anything. But Jason got angry about something and just started shouting, and I looked over and I just see angry Jason face, and I started laughing hysterically. I thought it was the funniest thing. It's so funny to watch people who are usually, quiet and calm and put together just absolutely lose their shit. And I still have no idea what he lost his shit over. I hope it wasn't anything too bad. I don't even know who he was yelling at. I just remember laughing and needing to move away from their fish tank so that they didn't hear me laugh. Melissa, who has been on the board for, I think this is her 5th year now. She's been sitting board president last year and this year. I think she does a great job. It was so much fun getting to know her in that smaller setting. I enjoy watching her learn and grow as a board member and board president. And listen, I know some of you do not like Jason, John, and Melissa. I'm very well aware of that. We all have our own reasons for liking and disliking different people, especially board members. The board gets a lot of shit for a lot of reasons. These three are probably 3 of my favorite ever sitting board members. Yes, it is a biased opinion. You don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to take my opinion. You can tell me that I'm wrong and stupid. That's fine. That's just my opinion. But my whole point in that rant is, I think walking back into this district with that child at 13 and seeing the differences but the similarities to when I was a kid, and getting angry enough to say, I want to do something, it helped me connect. Those 3 aren't the only 3 that I connected with. I've connected with principals. I've connected with guidance counselors. I've connected with teachers. I really want to say all their names because it's all positive, but I don't know how they would feel. But 2 people I will shout out. I'm going to shout out to our new superintendent, Mr. Plotkin. I've had many, many conversations with him at this point, and I don't know where the next few years we're going to see him be. I'm hoping it's still here because God forbid we cannot go through more superintendents. I need him to stay here. We need him to stay here. But from having the conversations that I've had with him, I can tell he is truly a kid-focused administrator, and I don't think we've always had that. I think our last superintendent, I loved her. I very much enjoyed working with her in moments that I did, and I was sad to see her go. Mike seems like, Mr. Plotkin seems like that he is not only, hitting the ground running with things, but he's truly, truly, truly kid focused. Another person I would like to shout out, and we've had our moments where we've butted heads, is Brian Piazza, the Carmel High School principal. I think he's a great guy, and I've seen Mr. Piazza grow himself over the past year and a half, and I look forward to see what else he can do in the building and with the district as a whole. I think that he is the perfect fit in the high school building for these kids. We have some rougher APs, and then we have Brian that's got a little bit of a softer side to him, and he's just done so many great things in the year and a half that I've worked with him. I really don't have much negative to say about him. The last person who I will give a shout out to is Carrie Weltman. She was my son's AP at Carmel High School. She just recently transferred to the Kent Elementary School as their head principal. I miss her. I can't say, I don't have enough time in my day to say all the things that I want to about Miss Weltman. She has helped me, and I've watched her help so many kids in so many different ways. She's an amazing advocate for students. I'm sure she'll do well in her position at KES. I'm just sad that we lost her at Carmel High School. So with all this negative that I started going to board meetings with, and all this anger and resentment, and just truly like ready to rip heads off some days, I'm just happy that I've gotten to make positive relationships with people that I never foresaw this coming to. Initially, I always thought that I was just going to constantly be butting heads with every single person in this district, and I love that I'm not. It makes it more comfortable if I do have a complaint. I know that they hear me. I know I don't have to yell and scream and, get crazy. I can just say my piece. We can have a conversation, and it can be worked out. So with that said, the way that I always try to approach any school related topic is trying to see things from all sides. Obviously, I think, in my opinion, the only side that matters beginning to end is a student. What is the student's perception? Does one student want it? Do all students want it? Is it going to hurt a student if we do it or if we don't do it? Their opinions are the only ones that matter, period. From there, I want to know what teacher perceptions are. Teacher burnout is such a real thing, especially in bigger public schools. And we're not massive, but we don't have a small amount of kids. Most of these teachers probably have 30 or whatever their max is for 6 to 7 periods a day. And I can only imagine how tiring it is. My mom is a teacher at a much smaller program, and she gets burnt out. So I don't ever want to come off as anti-teacher, and I want to make it very clear that the teacher perceptions are necessary. We need to know them. We need to work with our teachers. We need to know how they feel. We need to make sure they're also doing okay. However, a teacher perception is never going to matter to me as much as a student's perception, period. From there, all the other staff, we need to know monitors' opinions, administrators, board members. And I think it's important to see things from all sides. That way, conversations can really start to develop, and we can working on fixing things rather than constantly fighting with each other. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good fight, but so at the end of the day, my core belief is if one contract, one policy, or one person hurts or stands in the way of a student's right to learn, then that person or policy or contract does not belong in this district, period. You have no business being here. That piece of paper should be ripped up and thrown in the fire pit, period. This school is for kids. We make these kids go to school. So we, the adults in the equation, have to try to figure out a way to meet them at their level and work with them. And I know somebody out there is going to say, but kids need to learn and kids need to, start trying to be adults. I'm not disagreeing with that. But not every kid is the same. Are we all the same? Did we all grow up into the same adults? No, because we all do different things with our lives. We all have different senses of morality and ethics. Every kid is different. Every kid learns different, and that's okay. So we, as a public school system, need to figure out the best way to work this for the kids. But we'll have that conversation another time. So, what is Carmel Unfiltered? I'll tell you what I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be polished politics. I don't want it to be sugar-coated talking points. I want it to be honest conversations, sometimes hard truths, a lot of times uncomfortable opinions. I want it to be advocacy that puts kids first. We're going to talk about topics like policies, accountability, mental health, special education, what's working, what's not working. And it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be happy. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and that's okay. It will always be real, though. So in thinking about starting this podcast, and it's been on my mind for a couple of years, I've joked with one of my best friends for, probably about 3 years now. We should start a podcast. We should sit down and just do this and just talk shit to each other on camera and drink coffee. And maybe one day that will happen, but I'm a very impatient person and I have shit to say. And sometimes I need to get things off of my chest and get feedback from people. And this is my way of doing that. So I want this to be interactive. It is my platform, but I don't want it to be just my platform. I want this to be for every stakeholder within Carmel Central School District. I invite anybody to email me topic ideas, stories to tell, if they want to be a guest. This is open to parents, to students, to teachers, administrators, community members, business owners, politicians, board members, whatever. If you are within Carmel Central School District and you have something to say, email me, send me a message, call me. All of my information will be on all of my social media accounts. I think that one of the most important things that any potential guest should remember is that we don't always have to agree. You don't even have to like me. I probably won't have you come to my house if you don't like me. We can do a Zoom chat, but you don't have to like me. I will always strive to be respectful. If anybody were to ever feel like I'm not being respectful, they're more than welcome to call me out, and we can work through that. I also want it to be known for people that maybe would be interested, but they're uncomfortable with the idea of being on camera or having their voice on camera. There are many different editing ways to blur out your face, have you behind camera, or even change your voice if that's what's necessary. You don't have to be concerned. I think that this podcast can really open up conversations about accountability and transparency. Somebody said at the board meeting last week, and I'm going to forever use this, I can't remember his name. It was a public speaker. And I didn't agree with how this was put. I really enjoyed the statement that you're about as transparent as a brick right now. And again, I didn't agree with how he was saying it, but that is how I have felt so many times in this district. They preach transparency and they talk about how they want to make everybody accountable. But then sometimes you feel like that the ball just gets dropped and they are as transparent as a brick, and it's obnoxious. I don't think change is going to happen in an echo chamber, though. I think that it'll happen once people sit down face to face and start having those hard conversations. And that's really what I want this podcast to be about. It's not just about me, it is about the district as a whole. So coming up, I already have many great ideas. I've gotten feedback and topic ideas over the past couple of days from friends and family. I tried asking my kids, but they just rolled their eyes at me. And then my daughter, who's only 7, was like, let's talk about Barbie. I don't know anything about Barbie anymore, and I don't really think we're going to talk about that here. Maybe one day. Some of the ideas that I have coming up is kind of going through the district's website. To me, at least, websites in general, but especially district websites, are so overwhelming. You don't always know what to look for. Sometimes you try to search for things and you can't see them very well, or the search bar doesn't pull up exactly what you need. Things get lost in translation, and I hate it. So I'm going to do kind of a walkthrough into the Carmel Central School District website. So if anyone needs a quick kind of how-to look through, they have that. Another plan, this will be ongoing, is board meetings are atrocious at times. Sometimes they're entertaining, but they're not always fun. They can be really boring. And if you don't know what they're talking about, you could definitely get lost. So one of the things that I'll do is I will watch every board meeting and I'll break it down into like kind of a footnotes podcast. I'll start with, this is the time they started, go through public comment or any awards first, public comment, what everything in the agenda, what board members said what they voted on, what the outcome of the vote was, just, kind of a quick synopsis with timestamps. Upload that. Hopefully it should be less than half the time than a real board meeting would be. And if you know that there's a topic that you wanted to listen to and you wanted just a quick rundown of what was said, you could watch my video. If you just want to find the timestamp so you can go back into the district's video to watch that, you can do that as well. I'll do the same thing with committee meetings as well. So this will actually help keep me accountable to watching or at least attending all of these things. I always tell myself that I'm going to do better at that to keep myself informed, because I do believe that's important, and I never do because life happens. But luckily, all board meetings, work sessions, and committees are all now recorded, and they are all being uploaded to YouTube as well. So if you didn't know that and now you do, go take a look at it. I have a few guest appearance ideas. I'm going to leave those as a surprise though. However, right now, and I will talk to each of these people individually, I would like to formally invite the 2026 board candidates to come do a Q&A with me, all of them. There are 2 open seats right now, Jim Wise and Jordy Douglas. I don't know if they're rerunning again. I know that their seats are up for election. I believe Jim is. I'm not positive about Jordy. I'm assuming other people are going to put in to run. If they do, I would like to invite those people. Let's have a Zoom session. I'll ask various questions, special ed, finance, a typical Q&A, but in my opinion, the Q&As that are typically run, they're very stiff. You don't get to see a lot of personality. I want this to be more of a conversational, interactive thing. And I think voters deserve to know what a candidate's priorities, values, and visions are, yes, but we got to see those personalities. Truthfully, in my opinion, I think personality matters a lot when you're talking about people who are working within a school district, volunteer or not. Again, just my take. You don't have to agree with me. I think that informed decisions matter, and I would truly love to sit down with the 2+ people who will be running for the 2 open seats. Before I go, I just want to make this clear that this podcast is my personal platform. It is not affiliated with, sponsored by, or endorsed by Carmel Central School District or any employee or volunteer of Carmel Central School District. The views on this channel will be those of mine or my guests. So that wraps up today. These topics won't always be easy. They will always matter. If this gave you something to think about or you're interested, please share this. If you have topic or guest ideas, message me, or you can email me at carmelunfiltered@gmail.com. My name is Samantha Fulling. This is Carmel Unfiltered, my platform and my perspective. Until next time, have a great day.